and welcome to an IC3D tutorial. Today we'll be looking at how to create a cap. So more specifically, how to create a ribbed screw cap. First things first, we want to actually get a good reference of what we'll be building. So again, I never like to work off of memory. That is just a cause for bad things to happen. So what we want to do is actually get a good picture of our cap. So the cap I'll be using are going to be this picture here. This is very generic, more of like an old soda cap or something like that. But again, I pulled the image off of just Google Images, and I'm just going to be using this as my reference. So once you've gotten a reference, you want to then create the actual pattern that goes into the ribbing of the cap. So we're going to actually jump into IC3D, and we're just going to look at what tool we're going to use today. So I'm going to get rid of my cap here, and the tool that is going to be used is the Shape Modeler tool. So this is a very, very powerful tool in terms of what we can create and what we can do with this. Now, as you can see, I've already got my cap in here ready to go, but I just wanted to show you a little bit on how the Shape Modeler tool works. So the tool uses these shapes inside of your shape library to then create different custom things. So what I mean by that is it takes the shape information, and so in this case, if I just show you at this top point, it is a circle. So if I look at that, we've got a circle there, and if I replace that circle shape with this, say, gummy bear shape, that circle then gets turned into my gummy bear, and then it'll try to transition into the next shape, and the next shape being another circle. So using this base, this kind of basic dragging shapes in and then creating this nice fully flushed 2D, 3D model, this is going to be the technique that we'll be using to actually create this. So first things first though, we need a good starting shape. So we need something that has bumps on it and can actually be fully that ribbing texture in here. So to create that, we're actually going to be looking at Illustrator. So the shape that we'll be creating is, I'm actually going to be using the star tool. This is actually an absolutely wonderful tool. So if you click right in the middle there, we can give it like 80 points, something like that. And that will then create this, this very, very complicated shape here. So what we're doing with this shape though is pretty easy. All I'm going to have to do is just grab the outer shape. So you're just aiming to grab all of these. Whoa, don't want to move them there. We're just aiming to grab all these little points because we're actually going to be taking these points and pushing them in. Because again, we're creating that shape for the ribbing of the cap, so we want as many little bumps as we can get. So in this case, I've grabbed them all and then I'm just pushing them all in, and now I've created this nice bumpy shape. But what we want to do next is actually export this out. So we're going to go into File, Export As, and we're just exporting this out as a DXF. So in this case, I'm going to grab that ribbed cap here and just export it once again. So I have done this, so I already have a cap there, but I'll just replace it so we can do this kind of just to show you how you would then go about making this cap kind of from the start to the finish. So from here though, and now we're heading back into IC3D and back into the Shape Modeler tool. So first things first, we want to get that shape into our library. So how do we do that? We just go ahead and press this little plus button in the bottom right, and we can then grab that ribbed cap and just hit open. Oh, there it is. So as you can see, 206 is going to be a little too big on this, so I'm just going to pop it into millimeters. That's going to make it kind of small, but it's okay because we can actually expand that shape as we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and import it in. And instead of just searching through your library, I like to just use this little search bar. Super nice. So you just ribbed, and there it is. So perfect. So what we want to do now is just grab a circle. So I'm going to grab our circle shape and just start replacing and adding points in. So the more points that we add, the more information here, the easier it's going to be as we go along. So just some starting points. I'm going to add just a couple just so then we can start actually building this shape. Now don't worry about the ribbed area just for right now. We're going to get there as we move. And here we go. Again, just getting everything kind of nice and neat, just near each other. As then we can do this all at once instead of kind of having to zoom in and out and have to add more shapes as we go. So there we go, we're zooming into that section. And now the first shape here is just going to be an interior shape. So I'm just going to add that shape like just right in there. That's just going to allow me to have that interior right on there. So I like to work in the smoothing factor of final model only. This just helps it so instead of if I had always, it would do that loading. Oops, loading every single time. So if I made a movement, it would then have to go through that loading. So that's kind of annoying. So I'm just going to keep it to final model, and then we can kind of just play with it as we go. So from here though, now we're going to start that base shape. So we want that, so from the inside, we're going to go down, and then we're going to create that bottom little horizontal lip. So from here to about here, we want these to be flush with each other. All right, around there. And as you can see, then you can get a better positioning for your middle point, and that's creating that little lip. So from there, we've created the lip. And now we need to head back up. So we've got that in, out, and then we're going to go in, and that's going to create that little brim right there. So now we've got 2 points cutting through each other, so that's going to be kind of annoying. So we just want to grab this point and just line it up with kind of just the model there. So as you can see, what we've created there is a little lip, and that's going to then transition into our base shape. So at this point now, we can actually go and grab one of our ribbed shapes. So we're going to grab that ribbed cap, and we're just going to drag it on in. So here we go. There it is. All right, so once we've imported that next shape, that ribbed cap, we can just push it down and just move it along the base. So the first thing you'll notice is that our ribbed cap is now going to start being, start showing that geometry. Now, by default, yours should actually have a lower horizontal divisions. So you might see something like this, and that's okay, totally fine. Again, as we go, we'll actually be building out more of the geometry in here, and then I'll talk to you a little about what horizontal divisions actually does. So from here, though, don't worry, we're just going to add that in, and then we're going to add one more shape in to the top. So again, this is the transition from the ribbed shape on the bottom to the ribbed shape at the top. Again, not all the way, but there we go. And then just moving this up just a little bit, like so. And then we're actually good to go with this ribbed shape. So we only needed 2 of these. So I'm just going to head back into my circle shape. Here it is. And then just start plopping some more of these in. Now what I did want to make is that little transition, so it does have like this little lip there, and you can see that, so like kind of see that right there in the design of the cap itself. So I just wanted to add that in. And then just a little bit of a transition, so this is now going to be our arc onto the first point. So here, if we zoomed in, you could then just bring that in just a little bit, and we can actually take this and then arc that shape. So as you can see there, that's just going to make that nice, smooth transition into our top shape. Now we can make this a little shallower by dropping the shape down a little bit, but what you really want is just that nice, smooth transition. So that's looking really good. So from there, now next shape we're going to want to put in is this little bump. So as you can see, it goes up into that smooth top, and then it has a small little circular bump there. So we want to add that in. That's actually super easy to add in. So we just need, we can either do it by just adding in there. So as you can see, zooming in a little, that shape is now going to hit that curve and then go straight up. Now to make it look just a little nicer, I'm actually going to add a curve to it. So that's using this tool here. And what that's going to do is just add a nice transition curve that then goes from here up into here. And if we wanted to, and of course we're going to, because we want to add as much detail into this as we can. So as you can see, adding a shape though sometimes replaces the shape that you were just working with, so it can get a little annoying. But if you zoom out a little bit and add your shapes in, it's not too big of a deal. But just know that if you do replace a shape, you will need to just add that curve back in. It kind of loses its curve kind of like setting. So you just need to add that curve back in, and then this little shape here is actually a transition for the bevel. So this is to add a very smooth transition from here into that next flat part. So again, not necessary, but I wanted to add as much information to this as we could. So I'm going to bring my top shape down a little more. So as you can see, our shape is slowly building out. And what we need to add in now is the smooth top into this little dimple, and then we need that little plastic piece that I'm assuming pops off from the mold, and that's what gives it that, that little dimple right there in the middle. So I'm going to add a couple more points, and these are all just regular, again, regular circle shapes, so nothing too crazy. And then I'm just going to position this roughly in that same spot as that divot there. So from there, we can then take our next shape and then sink it in, because this is going to then turn into our divot. So as you can see, that divot is now being created. So if I zoom into here, we're just then going to angle it a little bit down, and of course adding a nice curve, because then that will make that divot just that smooth, nice curve in. And then we'll make this top point here just connect up just a little bit above our line, and then of course adding another curve to then make it a nice dimple. Now that dimple is a little big, so I am just going to adjust it slightly. There we go. That looks a little better. Looks more like a little plastic piece that kind of got left over. And like that, we've got our cap. Well, actually our interior is not looking amazing, so let's just go back into there. And I don't add too much detail to the interior because, again, if your plan is to screw this onto the top of a bottle, you don't really need the information in there. But, of course, if you are going to unscrew this and, show the inside, or at some point the inside is going to be revealed a little, I would then, definitely go in and add that extra little bit to the actual inside of the model, and then make that maybe like a smooth transition to the top. Now, from here, I'm actually pretty happy with what this looks like. We do need to talk about horizontal divisions, though, because we're going to need a couple more divisions here. So what is horizontal divisions? So the easiest way is actually to bring it down to 4, because 4, as you can see, has turned my nice circular cap into a box. So I've got a box here now. And what this is actually doing is 4, so the number value is 4 here. This is giving it 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 points along the horizontal, so meaning along this horizontal divisions here. So, and again, the easiest way, 14. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 14. So as you can see, using that, and as it compounds up, you get more polygonal information inside of here. Now, why this is important is because our ribbing requires a lot of polygons, so a lot of these actual 3D faces to then create those intricate details. So we actually need to then increase this up to a point where it actually looks much nicer. So as you can see, roughly around 300. Now it doesn't need to be that high. If we actually went into an always smoothing, we could probably get away with a little lower. So as you can see, probably around 240. So if I pop this down to 240, now don't worry about any of that top up there. It may look a little weird, but once you apply a actual material and things like that, that'll all go away. So I wouldn't worry too much. Really what you're worrying about is getting that ribbing on the side here to look as best as it can. So of course, again, this is all to visual eye. So once you're happy with the side of it and how many, kind of how much information is actually in there, you can then add this to the scene. Now, of course, I'm just going to do final model only, and then I'll just add maybe up to like 300. That should be fine. So from there, I do want to save this. Gotta save this. This is just going to allow us to then re-import. So if you ever need this load, if we ever need to come back to this cap for whatever reason, we don't actually have to build this cap again. This is all just, we can hit load and it'll load the cap perfectly for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and load that up. And I'll just save this as, again, ribbed cap or just something like that. This is more of a, if I ever lose this, I can always come back. So I'm going to add this to the scene now. And there we go. So not too bad. So first things first, though, we do want to go ahead and give it a nice color. So let's go ahead and just grab like a nice printed card. Or actually, let's grab a plastic. It's a nice plastic cap. So we'll grab a nice red cap. We'll make it IC3D orange. There we go. So again, nothing too crazy there. And the real check to see if this thing is looking good, because I am a little worried about this kind of shadowing on the top, is to actually pop it into the ray tracer. So I'm going to swap those views right there. So this is my RAS ray tracer. And I'm just going to take a view, just take a look real quick. That is what I'm looking for. And I think this is going to be a good looking cap. So that's good stuff. Nice. All right, so from here though, we just want to go ahead and add this now to a bottle, to an actual thing. So let's go ahead and head into our model library, and let's just grab something like this Boston Round bottle. I'll just drag it in, and our cap is a bit too large, which is fine, because we can go into our transform tool, hit that scale all together, and we're just going to drop this right down into position. There it goes. Head into our transform. And a lot of people actually don't know what this little tool here in the middle that pops up is called. These are called gizmos. So a little fun fact for you. So as you're learning, these are called gizmos. So this is the scale gizmo, and this is the transform gizmo. So as you can see, yeah, cool, right? You'll learn something new. And now from here, that is looking fine. So as you can see, all I did was just drop that scaling to 49%. So we can always upscale that for a bigger cap, or squish it, or do anything. Again, this is a 3D world, so we really want to be able to reuse our assets so we can do things very fast and quick. That's all about the quickness. So in this case though, setting this up for a nice render, because our cap is looking good. And I'm just going to switch this over to a white background. Nice. And then just swap those render views and take a look at what we've created. Hey, that looks pretty darn good. Yeah, I'd send that off for a final render. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. Again, mainly we were looking and focusing on creating the cap itself. So I hope you got some good tips, some good tricks in there with the shape modeler tool. Super powerful tool. But yeah, I hope to be doing more of these kind of offhand recording videos in the future. So if you did like this video, definitely, let me know. Give it a comment, give it a like. But mostly just, let me know what you guys want to see. So what are you creating? What are you doing? How do I create this? How do I go about creating that? Again, this is what this series aims to do, is to just bring a little more kind of tips and techniques to IC3D and to IC3D's user base. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a great rest of your week. Take care.